So basically, RAM is random access memory. First of all, it is the main memory of the system, right? What RAM does is it temporarily stores the data. Okay, when this RAM concept came in, we were still using the hard disk of traditional hard disk, right? Where the speed of the hard disk, if you know, it would have been say 50 Mbps, 25 Mbps, okay, and our CPUs were in gigahertz. A hard disk was a very slow device to provide relevant data to CPU to process. But for CPU to access it from there was not really effective. It was not possible to work in that manner. So the concept of RAM came in, where they said that RAM is a device that will be very fast, at least as fast as CPU, that it can process it quickly. And then it will also, it cannot also be a very large device. So it has to only store temporary data. Okay. And CPU will use it to perform the actions. So actually what happens is, whenever you are opening a file on your system, your file is first loaded from your hard disk to your RAM. And from RAM, CPU actually accesses it and opens it and shows it on your screen. That is the significance of RAM. It is a temporary memory. So, and it's a volatile memory. So as soon as you shut down your system, everything in your RAM will be completely erased. So say, for example, you had 4 GB RAM on your system and you have already opened multiple programs, you are running multiple files. So everything is getting into RAM, right? Once your RAM is completely consumed, okay, then the concept of swap comes in. I will come to that later. But idea is that now RAM doesn't have any space left. So it has to do that swapping part. And that is where your system becomes slow. One more important thing, a difference between RAM and your hard disk is, so what is RAM actually? RAM works by storing the data in the electronic circuits, which can be quickly accessed by CPU, right? So it is not like traditional hard disk where there will be a magnetic disk or optical disk or something like that. They're electronic circuits. And the other thing is that it is very near to your CPU. This is North Bridge, and here your memory slots are there. This is a motherboard design basically. So again, because it is very near to CPU, it can access it very fast. Now, what are the different types of RAM today in the market? I would say it started with DRAM, which is a traditional RAM. Then came synchronous DRAM. Okay, so this used to synchronize the computer's clock speed to improve data transfer rates. Not going deep into it, you can just understand it as it is. Then came SDRAM. Okay, so here your data speed and read-write speed became faster. It became twice per clock cycle. So in fact, doubling the data transfer rate. And today we have got different versions of SDRAMs in the market: DDR2, DDR3, DDR4. Okay. If I were to show you the design, so this is what your DDR3 will look like, and this is on how your traditional RAM will look like. Okay, so things have been changing a lot, right? Okay, now coming to swap space. In earlier times, you had RAM of 1 GB, 2 GB, right? It was really not enough. So people came out with this concept of using the computer's hard disk. So that is from where the word swap comes in. So it's like swap in and swap out. So what you do is, as your RAM gets consumed and you are trying to open any more files, your operating system will understand what was the least used file or least used application. It will try to offload that or swap out that to the hard disk. Okay, and when you have to access your earlier program again, it will again move something back to the swap space and take something from and put the old program into the RAM. But again, as I said, since now we're talking about 16 GB RAM on server, we are talking about 256 GB of RAM. So really, the practical significance of this has reduced. Though it is still needed theoretically, you still need swap space on your systems to start your PCs, to install your PCs. But practically, this has become less and less relevant.